Right, so here's the dashboard waiting to go back in. I think you could possibly do this a bit more you could do this a bit more sensibly. The proper way to do this would actually be, I think, to take this support off, as it's on with self-tappers or acme screws, and put that in, and then put the shell in, and then put the dashboard on the front. However, it came out like this, so I'm just going to see if it'll go back in. Things I've got to do first. I actually broke these clips when trying to remove the dash in the first place, so I have put some quite large riv knots in their place. It should be fine, but I may need to open out these holes a bit. The air vents, I'm pretty sure need to go on now, because I might be able to get this one on afterwards, but wiggling something up behind the glove box is probably going to be difficult. And I think that's it. There's a couple of scars in it, but I've decided I don't want to recover the dash. It's the original vinyl. It's got its history. It's got its scars from its history. I prefer to keep it. This odd looking thing here, this is my radio holding solution. So look, I can probably show it a bit better when it's in the car. But this flat piece of aluminium slides just on top of the little brackets that would hold the mill board under the dash. I've never had one of those. Might remake one now, but so that just sits on there. It's fixed at this end, and then I've got a cradle that hangs underneath to actually hold the radio in place. So I'm going to get set up and get the vents on, and get the thing in the car. Okay, so that is now more or less in. I've got the mounting frame bolts in. I've got the brace to, like, under here, back of the heater box in. I put on as much of the top fixings as I can. Unfortunately, I found when I took this out, it stuck to something while being stored, and it's going to need a bit of paint. I also wanted one of these press studs. Needs another coat of paint. However, there's enough to hold the dashboard on. You might have seen I put the passenger side vent in and then put the dash in, so that it could stay trapped behind the glove box. But the order everything needs to go together is there's a couple of these tonneau cover press studs, if you have them, go underneath these trims. Then that vent trim goes on top, and then on the vent trims the press studs go over the top of that. So I did have to take that off again and put it back. But obviously the actual vent thing stayed in place enough so it wasn't awkward, or was less awkward. Anyway, so I'm going to give that a rub down and another coat of black, and I think then it'll be time to start making that look a little less empty. Well, there's those bits repainted. Just going to dig out some press studs fittings. I think I've got the right stuff still, and get those on. ancient bulbs pulled out of the GT6. Get those on, and then I've extracted the steering column from the boot, and while it's off the car I will change the overdrive, or add the overdrive switch and get that on the car. Got a bit of painting to do because the bit that connects between here and the actual steering rack I've had to replace because I stole the original one to put on the Spitfire. Spitfire was bent, and I've got a replacement, but I've only just got it out of the packet, or out of the packaging, and it's all manky. It needs painting, needs blasting and painting. So should still be able to get the column on and start fitting up the dash before that's dried. So I'll get on with that. So that's on. I was missing the bottom half of the popper. Got plenty of these top bits, but none of the sorts that go under a flat surface like that. It's not a big issue until this windscreen goes in. So, but you know, that's going to be really easy to get. So I'll just get another one. Got my steering shaft there, some scabby bits of GT6, so I'm going to do a little bit of blasting and get that painted. So that's the steering column on the bench. What I've got to do is replace this escutcheon with one that has provision for an overdrive switch and get the wires fed through there, and then it's going to be ready to go back on once my steering shaft is dried. So that's been painted. Yeah, so I shall get on with that then. Not quite all ready to go. My indicator is not staying in the one position. So it looks like I managed to knock off that spring. Hopefully it should be easy enough to just find and replace, but we shall see. Now it's ready to go. I'm just getting ready to at least loosely bolt the steering column in place. So I've scrounged up some bits of felt. So this is supposed to have a felt liner and then one over the top. And this is the clamp that goes closest to the bulkhead inside the car. So let's get this cut down. Okay, so here's the lower bracket. You see what the sort of the curved bracket that holds it to the bulkhead, that's bolted through the bulkhead into the engine bay. Got a sort of U shape underneath. There's this double bracket with the corrugated front that goes onto the dashboard, and that goes through this this brace that connects to the top of the top of the bulkhead, just under the windscreen frame. Rather, through the dash support, then through this sort of Y-shaped brace. So I'm not doing any of that up yet fully, but it's in place and out the way. And when this shaft has had a chance to dry, we can get the whole thing in, and I can figure out the position. the position I want the steering column to sit at, because it is adjustable. You can have it further right in or out. Given the markings on the metalwork of the outer column, it should be where it was. And it probably hasn't moved from there for a very long time, but you know, I've got the opportunity to decide if I actually want it further in or out. Okay, so I've got my steering shaft painted, and I've got to get it through here and also through the hole in the suspension turret. I've just realised that fortunately this job is going to be a whole lot less awkward than it is when the engine is there, because it's going to be quite a bit easier to actually access the attachment to the steering rack. So what we want to end up with is this flat side. When the wheels are straight ahead, that should be down, because that's how the self-cancel tab on the upper half of the steering column is orientated, so that when these join together, that's the orientation we want to get in. Which means on this end, the UJ bolt wants to be across there. so downwards again. Okay, so I got the UJ on. It's not a UJ originally, it's a type of rubber coupling thing. I found these in a real pain to fit. I probably would not buy another one. I would refurbish one of the original types. Yeah, it is gonna require moving the inner column more. Okay, but with this now, this photo on, it's just engaged with the steering rack. I should be able to get the inner column, or the whole assembly from inside the car, on, and just slip it over the end of this. That way this shaft can slide up and down inside the inner one, and we can make the adjustment we need to. Okay, so how this is going to go, I'm going to pull the actual column out of the actual steering shaft out of the column a little way. Then I'm going to get that hung on the car. Then I'm going to be able to push the shaft back in and meet it up with the one we've just installed in the engine bay. What I almost forgot is this tiny little, thin little bearing washer, whatever it is. So I only just realised, I fortuitously saw another video talking about what this was, because I had found it on the Herald stuck to the seal there, and hadn't figured out why it was there. What it's supposed to do is go over here, so it forms a bearing surface between the clamp that goes on the end of this and the end of the column. So thanks Elaine for the just-in-time video. That was very handy. Anyway, for the moment I'm just going to hook it over here. Otherwise, I almost forgot. I'd have to take everything apart again to get it back on. Alright, there's all the bits of the steering column in place. Mostly. I'm going to get this clamp loosely in place and then start to fiddle down there to get the joint to the rack. So what I've got to do now is get this seated nicely on here, and the wheels need to be straight ahead while the steering wheel is straight ahead. So I've done up the clamp that holds the two bits of the steering shaft together, just enough so it should turn with the wheel, but not stop me being able to move this back and forth. So if this behaves now, it should just be a case of sliding it on.
So this is where I really take issue with these aftermarket joints, is because they have holes for a larger bolt size up from the original fittings, but obviously the indent on the steering rack and on the actual shaft, in the case of the some cars, isn't the right size. So that means this is very difficult to get in. Well, that's on. So I'm going to go and button up inside the cabin. Right, there. Steering column's in. So you can see again, what's still here, our clamp. In between that's our tiny little Teflon or nylon washer, right up against the main body of the column. Intermediate support with that bracket goes through the bulkhead, and the top clamp here. And finally again, and after a very long time, turn the wheel and the wheels turn. And so it's probably time to get this dash looking a bit more populated. I found all my control cables that go in the centre of the dash, so I'm going to give these a bit of a clean up, get them fed through. The grommets might actually be alright. So I'm quite fortunate on this car in that actually all mine have removable knobs, because the choke cable isn't a Herald choke cable, as I understand. I think it's from a Mark 1 Spitfire. I don't know where the knob comes from. Vitesse perhaps? Because the Heralds had an integral fixed knob, so you had to pull the whole cable out. But with these you can take that off and push it through the support plate. Anyway, I'll get that done. So there's those two cables run through. I found the easier method, too late, is to look through, stick a torch over the fresh air grill, and then you can see what you're doing. You don't have to do it by feel. Anyway, they're in. I'm going to fill in that hole. So I nearly forgot to put this interior light fitting in. Now what I found I had to do, I can't remember how I got it out, was just push up on the hardboard, the inside hardboard of the dashboard a bit, and then wiggle it around the corner. This is one of those things that always makes me think I can't really believe this is actual automotive electrical equipment, because it's just bare bits of metal and a bulb. Anyway, that would have been impossible after this section was in, so try not be like me and almost forget about it. Anyway, let's choke in, heater control in, So I should be able to get the little inset done now. So I got all my centre controls in. I'm going to start connecting a couple of cables up now. So I'm going to start off over here, the one that takes the most contortion to get to. The heater flap thing. So there's the heater flap control connected up. And the valve. So what's left is the gauges. I'm probably connecting up the wiring for the column. There, so I've just pulled the wiring for the two gauges through the right hole. So we've got white input and green output from the voltage regulator. And we've got two warning lights. Brown with yellow is ignition, and white with brown is oil pressure, and then the light, the full gauge. There's no earth because both of the lights, well, there should be an earth, shouldn't there? So that'll have to earth. So one of these, presumably is going to just come across here. We've got our illumination again. Different style, forgotten that. Yeah, so that's our illumination. These are the feeds, so the power into the water temperature and fuel gauge. These are our senders for those. There should be green with blue should be water temperature, and green with black should be fuel. Yep. Then we've got more lights, high beam, and indicators. Because it's a Herald, nothing more complicated. And they're in. That accessory gauge was much more faff than I remember. Just getting the little brackets aligned with the ring that pushes against the dash on the inside. Anyway, they're there now. And I think that's pretty much everything I can connect electrically, so it's probably time to have a bit of a check, see what functions. Oh, just on bulbs. So in this car I use incandescent everywhere except for the indicator telltale, because I found that you can't see it otherwise. I did have one in the high beam warning light and it was blinding, so I took it out. Right, so battery's in, positive's connected. I've checked, I've got none of there's obviously a couple of wires that are going to be live, sat in the engine bay. They're not sat next to the chassis or anything like that. So, just so we're not getting any sparking. Good. Pretty sure it is, but yeah, battery's definitely charged.
I'm getting 12 volts to my solenoid, which is as expected. And to the alternator. To the horns. Okay, so within the engine bay, I'm quite happy. I broke the fuse for the headlight flashes, so I'm waiting for one of those to turn up. But otherwise, we should be able to start testing.
So there's a few things that remain on our non-switch circuit. It's the, doesn't work very well, door. Ooh, that earthed me. Fun. The door switch works. Permanently on. Got a light there, not in here, but I suspect that's just the bulb. I was wondering why the side lights weren't working. It's because I've not actually connected them. So I've got my side lights connected, but I'm still getting no power down there. So I've just fished the switch out from behind the dash again, and we'll see what it's getting. So we should be expecting 12 volts at this terminal that has brown blue on it, which we've got. So switch is off, so we shouldn't have any other connection at the moment. So switch to position 1, we should now be getting something here, which is the interior lighting, but we don't get this. Yeah. Where was it supposed to go? No, that's right, actually, isn't it? Because it should be all the way out for. Okay, so that's a different switch installed. Let's see what this does. Also, dash illumination is definitely on, I can see. Nothing to that terminal. On the way out. Still nothing to that terminal. Ah. Okay. Now there's something to that terminal. So that says we've got a short in our brown red. So I think I figured out the problem. There's the bit just under there. I can't even see it myself. Yeah. Bits of loom just under there. They're supposed to connect to the rear harness. I think that was shorting. Because now the side lights work. Main beam, dip beam. And now we've got no dash illumination. Possible these are the wrong way around. This one is on, honest. Okay, now we should be able to turn the ignition on. I think we should get a heater. Yep. Wipers do not appear to want to work. Indicators are just oddly, because they're not they don't have the rear bulbs attached. Just gonna see if I can hear the solenoid. Yep. Gonna have to ground the with a screwdriver. Actually, I've not got enough hands. I might ground the overdrive. Right. Okay, so I can hear the relay going, but it's probably not enough. Don't have enough ground to make the actual solenoid click. I have to do it properly rather than trying to jam a screwdriver between the two. There's not much left in this car, is there? Let's see what's up with the wipers. So with the wiper switch off, which it is at the moment, we should be getting, if we didn't short it, we'll be getting 12 volts through the white. We're getting not that. Bad ground. Yeah, bad earth, which makes sense because there's not. This is where we're getting the earth from, and there's a lot of paint there still. So I'll just clean that off, and we should be good. So we are getting power to the contact in the gear section. So our black green with the switch on should be grounding us. Which it's not. And this was because one of the terminals had fallen off the switch. So, should... No, still not doing it. Yeah, that's not. Yeah. There we go. Okay, so just to make sure I've got the gearbox grounded, the jumper cable, one, and
I think that was both of them. Okay. Rapidly running out of things to do without an engine. Actually, the thing I do need to do is put the sill on. But first of all, I'm going to dig down in this corner and have a look at the state of the seatbelt mounting point. Since on the other side it needed repair, it's almost certain this one will do as well, and it'd be best to do that before the sill's on, because otherwise there'd be even more limited access from the outside. So I have a bit more of a tidy up, and then pull back the carpet and see what that looks like. That is going to be a job for the next video, because this one's actually a lot longer than I thought it was going to be, and kind of the subject matter makes a bit more sense. We've got electrics and installation, and then back to welding, because it always comes up. Anyway, so are we going to find more rust than we expect? You're going to have to wait till to find out. So thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for subscribing. And see you next time.